Hi Karina, so I thought I could explain this best with a video. Um, Remember that there are two types of rules for doing significant figures, and we'll talk more about these in lecture on Monday. I'll probably have to give you guys a bit more time on the homework past Wednesday because I don't think I'm going to get through everything we need to do. But in this problem, we start by subtracting, and when you subtract, you look at the place values. So even though your book doesn't do it, a lot of the times it's easier to line them up where the decimal points are, and I'll show you how to do this in lecture on Monday. Uh, and then you can look at where the last significant figure is. In the 5.67, it's the 7, and in the 2.3, it's the 3. Now, when you subtract here, you do the subtraction, okay, and we get here 3.37, and the 3 is the last sig fig, and that's because of this tenths place here being the last sig fig. Now we can round this right here. If we round it, because there's a 7 next to the 3, we'd round to 3.4. But usually when you have another calculation to do, you just keep on going. And so in the next step here, what they're doing is they're multiplying the 3.8489 here times the result of this. So the result of this we just got, it's 3.37. We're going to multiply that by 3.489. Now when you multiply, you count how many sig figs there are. So it's different from adding and subtracting. So when we multiply times 3.37 here, we'll get a result, but we have to remember, and that's why this 3 is underlined. This is reminding us that the 3 is the last sig fig. The 7 there is not significant. So when we multiply, we count the sig figs, and we see that this number has 4 sig figs. And this one has 2. It's the 3 and the 3. So when we round our answer, we're going to have to round it so that it has 2 sig figs. And so I'm going to bring out my calculator now. Here's the calculator, and we're going to do 3.489 times 3.37. Okay, and so our calculator spits out all these numbers. I think we're fine if we write the first 4 because we're really only going to be using two sig figs. Okay, so I'm going to write 11.7. I don't know, it's 11.76, let's say. I'll stop right where the 5 is and I'll round it up because there's a 7. 11.76. Okay. And we have to round this such that it has 2 sig figs. So the first sig fig will be the first one, and the second sig fig will be the second one. When we round, we're going to round up because there's a 7 next to the 1, and so we round up to 12. In the next problem, again, we have a subtraction that happens first. So like I said before, when you do subtraction, and you can look at my slides for this, or we'll talk about it on Monday. Like I said, I think you guys are going to need a bit more time for this homework because I just didn't get as far as I thought I would in lecture on Wednesday. But here the last sig fig on this one's a 9. The last sig fig on this one is the 1. And so we're going to subtract. And let's go ahead and do that subtraction. So when we subtract, we get a 0 here, we get a 4 here, we get a 7 here, we get a 9 here. And likewise, like last time, because we're subtracting, we look at the place value. So whichever number has the least decimal places or the least far to the right, that limits what our last sig fig can be. So here it's going to be 0.48 if we were to round it. But like I said, a lot of times you don't have to round it right away at the end or in the middle. You can round it at the end. So now we do the multiplication, and we can do the multiplication all at once. It's going to be 6.78 times 5.903 times 0.479, which is what we just got. We got that right here. That went right in here. Okay, So now we want to, and we should underline the 7 to remind ourselves. That's the last sig fig. So now we look at how many sig figs each of these have. The first one has 3 sig figs. The second number, 5.903, has 4 sig figs. The 0 in the middle is significant. And here, this 0 in front is not significant. It's just a placeholder. There are only 2 sig figs, are the 4 and the 7. And so this number has 2 sig figs. And so now we're going to do the multiplication. 6.78 times 5.903 times 0.479, and that's going to equal 19.1707 about. I'm just going to copy this number here. So this was our result. Wish it were bigger. 19. I probably should have just written it. Yeah, 19.1707. And the last, let's see, let me make sure I did that right. When we look at the textbook. Yeah, 19. Yeah, okay. So, and now, this number should be rounded so that it has 2 sig figs. So they're going to be at the 9 here. The 9's the second sig fig. The 1 in the front is the first. And so when we round, we're going to round to 19. We round down. So I hope that helps. Let me know if you get stuck again.